So hello, everyone. I'm going to jump right in, actually, because what I want to do today is I want to show you how these wonderful components that Molly was showing us, how we can add some data and actually do that a little more quickly and a little more flexible than we usually do with copy and pasting. So what I want to build with you today is this little thing here. And if we're going to run through it and we fetch the data that I set up, then you can see that it will populate automatically. It will swap in the instances here, the little buttons you saw before. And you can see here again the team of today. Also, there's one person missing. We're going to deal with that later when we do some more fetching of the data. And so what I want to do, and something that already someone backstage has been going a little crazy, because there's a link to a working file. And some of them are there and some of them are not there, and this is for a reason. So what I want to do is I want to lead you through how we build this step by step, and that's going to be like a first part of the session, so that's going to be 10-15 minutes. Then I'm going to show you another API to connect data called Kernel, and then we're going to pull some real weather data as well. And so what I want you to do for this to being a little more, sorry, my shortcuts are not working here, for this to be a little more interactive, on our file here, you can see that there is 2 links, and I'm really sorry if you've been clicking on the first one, the working file. I'm going to upload this at the very end of the session because it's also your challenge in there. Plus, I don't want you all pulling the same data that I'm pulling and then it's not working anymore. But I want you to click on that second link here, so the Google Sheet to input profile data. And what happens here is that you see this, and you can see that this on the top here, make this a little larger for you. This is the data that I just been pulling in. And what I want now is for you to join, and then we can try out if we can get a little sheet together of everybody that's joining today. I've never done this before, so it might work or it might not work. Let's have a look. And actually, it's quite simple. Just put your name. You also don't all have to jump to number 9. You can like spread out a little bit, and I have someone who will help me a bit. Then an image. The easiest thing is, let me jump back to my Figma file. I have a little explanation here. So the image, the easiest, if you just go to LinkedIn and just click on your image on LinkedIn and then right click and say copy image address, and then you can just paste that link in here. Obviously only share whatever you're comfortable with, what's already out there. Then a description, just very short, please, whatever your position is, and then just pick an area you're working in. Now, I gave you those selections, so it's UI, UX, development, graphic, and other. I'm sure there's some amazing wizards out there, multitasking, UX, UI, development, and UI, and whatever. I'm really, really sorry. Just for the purpose of this demonstration, just pick one of them that's the closest to you. And we still believe that you know all of the other stuff. But please, please, please don't tamper with them just for this presentation. The red ones you do not touch. Repeat after me. I will not touch the red columns because that's going to be auto-generated, and I'm going to show you why. Then we have job search. If you're currently looking for a job, then please switch this to show, otherwise to hide. It has to be show hide. It can't be true, false, yes, no. So please also keep this the way this is set up. I'm also really sorry I had to make some Smashing Magazine members unemployed. This is just for demonstration purpose. You're all going to be safe faggot smashing later on. No worries about this. Then just put your location and anything. If you want to share a link, you don't have to link it properly. Just add any page. This could be Twitter. This could be your website. You can leave it empty. And again, a red one, don't touch it. Okay, so while you're doing this, so you have like 10 minutes or something to fill this in. I'm only going to need this at the very end. And so while you're doing this, I'm going to show you step by step how this is working. So first of all, you can see that I'm using Molly's components, and I took them over and I adjusted them a little bit. And what I came up with for this demonstration is this. We're going to use this here for our demo. And so I had to do a few adjustments for this to work. So one thing is it's not going to work with a background fill. So I had to, in the profile, it's not going to work with a frame fill, sorry. So I had to just add a little circle here for this to work. Then I just simplified the badges a little bit. And the wonderful trick that Molly showed you of using a dot or an underscore to make things invisible in the system, that's not going to work if you're using sync. So sync is always something that you're going to do a bit like prototyping on I would use it on a separate page, just a little extra setup. And you prepare your Google Doc, which I did and we're currently doing. So what I have here now is these elements, and then let's jump down here. And now the first step we're going to do is we're going to pull in just the names and the image. And this is actually incredibly easy. So all you're doing here is in your layers, you have to name it hash and then the column name. So here you can see a screenshot again of what I'm using. So you can see here name, image, description. So all I did, I can also switch on the real sidebar. You can see that this is hash image, this is hash name, and I can add here whatever I want to content, it doesn't matter. And just by doing this, I can now select this. And then I go to my plugins, you go to Google Sheet Sync. You click run, then here you have to add a link. And the important thing to know is that this link here, it needs to be a link at least to view. So also be aware that if you're using this, don't use sensitive data because it is a link that anyone with the link would be able to see it. So just be sensible about that. And then all we do, I'm using update current selection. You could also update the whole page, the whole document. And I am then saying, whoops, sorry, I have to go down to my selection here. I say fetch sync. And now you can see that this pulled in nicely all the images and all the text. And this is really working super well. And I never had any issues, but we obviously want to do some more complex stuff. By the way, yes, later I'm going to share this file with you. And so you can see here, there is some explanation. So I'm going through this all step by step, and you can get the link to the plugin and everything. And so because the video recording, it's going to be there. So you're going to have this video to follow along, but it's going to take a moment. And so you can also go through this and repeat everything I'm doing, because for some of you, this might be quite fast. And it's really something that you need to try out and to play a little bit with to get your head around it. So the second thing we want to do is show hide. So here in the job search, we had, now it's also drop down, but it could be text or drop down. So we had hide and show whether you're looking for a job or not. And so all I did here, I added this little element here, and I called it, you can see here, made this so it's larger. I called this job search, and I also added a circle around my avatar, and I also called this job search. And I have a little tick here, and I did the same hash and job search. So always the exact same name as the column name. And now we can also sync this. So sorry, some of them are a bit off. Can run this, fetch, and it's going to add the job search to wherever I had it set up. And the really great thing about this is if you click on here, you can see that also what Molly showed you in setting up component properties, that it's going to pick up on those properties. You can see here the open to work is going to be switched on, the Boolean value, if I have this activated, and it's also going to pull in, it's going to reflect the properties with the sync that I just did. So it's really nice because it really stays in line with your component setup. Then we have variant swapping. So this is where it becomes a little more complex, but also this is where it becomes a little more magic. So this is the part I really like. And here you can see that I asked you to choose from the drop down, right? Now you can see this little thing I told you to not touch, and this is that it says area equals UI, area equals graphics, or whatever you chose. So why am I doing this? Well, this is because I want to swap in this badge. Let's just jump to the main component. So remember, this is up here. So in this main component here, This is set up as area, so that's the property name. And then I have area UX, UI, and so on in variants. However, the real name of this variant is if you double click in the layers panel, and it's called area equals UX. And this is the true name. It's just that Figma makes it a little more usable for you. But when it basically looks across our whole canvas for this component, then it's going to look for this real name of the variant. If you're having more properties, it will be area equals UX, comma, property 2 equals whatever you set up there. You're going to see that in another example later on. And so this is basically what I am doing here. Let me jump back. So this is basically what I am doing here. That I am simply saying in my Google Sheet, I am saying put area equals and then whatever they chose in this field. And this is how I can set up the true component name. And then all I'm doing in my component is that I'm naming this hash job badge. So again, just as we did before, the name of the column. By the way, if you're working in a design system and you say, well, I don't want to touch the naming because maybe the naming is in line with your code and it's just going to be confusing for people that don't know what this is about, you can also always just rename everything in your instances. That's going to work fine. It just needs the right name. So we did this, and now have a look at our little badges here when I sync, and you can see that now it's going to go across and it's going to swap in the correct badge from the available variants. So one last thing. So this is a little minor thing, but it's quite nice. So remember in Molly's design system when she's working with tables, and by the way, now I saw that she's working not in rows, but in columns. So I want to try this out later, set it up in rows before her presentation. You can see that she's using this very slight change of color. So this is giving a sort of a really nice, just more clarity when reading it. So I also want to add that automatically. So what I did is I added another row to my Google Sheet, and I called it list item. So I called it like the column, like the component. And I just did white and then a light gray, white, light gray. And so it's automated to go down like this, however many fields I'll have. And I simply named now the entire component. Oops, sorry, I am put down here. Here we are. So I simply named the entire component now hash and list item. Again, if you don't want to rename your component, you could just select all of your instances and then bulk rename them with the hash in front of it. And so let's have a look at this now. So here I have these ones here, and now we run it, and now you can see it will now pull in this very slight background color for every second row that I am having. Okay, so now here we're already at the last one, and this is where if you just want to finish up, if you still want to add your information. So far, I've always prepared 6 of them, but sometimes I don't know how many people are in the file. For example, now we added Amanda from Smashing, and she wasn't originally on there, so I don't know how many there are. So I want Figma to pick up however many however many rows I have in my Google Sheet to create as many instances. And this is actually really nice to do. So you just select here, I have 2 instances. And now what I'm going to do, it's very important that you add auto layout to them. And then I just need to see what it was. It was at. So I'm going to just drag it over. Oops, sorry. Oops, sorry, I'm just going to do this over here again. So here was my setup. So here you have the 2 instances, and you can see I set them up at auto layout. So I can take this off, put it back on, and you just name them at hash and then any name. And now if I am pulling in the data, this is automatically going to fetch as many people as I have in here. This is from my safety copy. So now we're going to pull in your data in a second. Okay. So this is the link to our shared file. Let me just see if you put in some stuff. Oh, nice. Okay, so there's some gaps and things. I have no idea if that's going to work or not, but we're definitely going to try it out now. Let's see what happens. I also don't know if there's a limit to how many you can pull in. So basically what I am doing, this is the link now to the file that you've been working on. So now I am selecting this here. I'm a bit excited about this now. And then I go run, and now I am pasting in this one. And let's see if it works or not. Fetch. Yay, and here we are. Nice. Fantastic. I think I'm going to put this one later. I'm going to try to paste it on our Figma. I'm not sure if that's all working. And then you can have a look. I will pull it again. So if you want to change anything before the end of the lesson or anything you don't want shared, then take it off. But I'm going to share that at the end. So now I want to show you one more thing. So there is a great plugin, and the fantastic thing actually is, it's called Kernel. And I set it all up, and you can see the screenshot. It was in closed beta, and you had to go on a waiting list and things. So I still wanted to demo it to show you a little bit how it works, because I think it's just really, really great. And they just started, and it's already really fantastic. So I think it has a lot of potential. By the way, I'm not working with any of those. I'm not getting any commission. I just think they're really, really great plugins. And I checked today before the talk, and it's now open. So you can already try this out when I give you the file, or you can already check it out now. And so what Kernel does is that it's basically in your Figma file, and you can connect much more. So we're getting much more closer to actual data. So we can still do Google Sheets. We can do JSON. We can do CSV, Notion, Airtable. And that's not open yet, but for example, if you're a company and you want to use it, you can reach out to them, and they are connecting APIs for you. I'm going to show you in a minute an sample API they connected for me. And they're also working on something that you can sort of quickly connect with your own API key. So this is really where they're pushing towards, and also where I think there is still a lot of room and things missing in Figma. So here you can see, I'm just going to show you with the file that we use now. And the great thing is, if I am using Kernel, I don't need to do all these adaptations. So here I am having Molly's component right as it is from her design system. And so I'm opening Kernel. Hope I'm all signed in and nice. Yep. And you can see that simply here I'm having all my files. So I'm having here, this is the same, I'm pulling from the same Google Sheet, and you can see here's all the data. And I could just like drop, I can just drop things on there, so I can like just use things. So here we go with Vitaly said, no malorum ipsum. You can just drop it. But what's actually nicer, much more powerful, is I can set up, so wait, here, this one. So I can set up a configuration, a connection to data within Figma. And it's very different to what you've seen just on Google Sheets. So it's like, it's a very different way of approaching it, but I think this one is very promising. So you can see here, it's hinting what I can connect. So I have these little dots here. So I can connect this with an image. I can connect this one here with, I'm going to go for name, and this one here with description. And so you can see that I don't need to change any naming, any structure, and you can really keep your design system intact and just sort of use it on top of it. Now I create the configuration. I'm just going to use that name here. And now what I am doing is I am selecting all the instances, and it's noticing that, oh, these instances, there is the component, there is some connection set up, and it's now saying, do you want to apply all? I press apply all, and then it automatically adds all the data in there for me. You can also add logic, and it works in a very different way, because before, all the logic I set up in my external sheet, and now I'm setting up the logic inside my component. So for example, here I have the open to work. Let's just jump back. Wait here. So I already set this one up a little bit. And now you can see here, let me just take this one out so you can see it from the beginning. So I have open to work, and it notices right away that this is a variant. So it says this one is invisible, it's hiding, and there's one that's showing. And so I can add a rule, and I can say if the job search is equal to, let me see what I have here in my sheet. I named it, what was it? Hide and show. I could name it now also anything. Is equal to hide. And you can see it also picks up on the property. And so this would be show, this would be hide. So I'm setting it to hide because show is the default. And then save configuration. Oh, I wanted to show you one more thing. What we can also, what I already did, so the same with my badge here. You can see I added all this logic here. So I'm saying if it's this, then pick this one. If it's this, then pick this one. And obviously you can also, you can use different data. So you're going to see that in a minute. You can also have, for example, ratings that you say if the rating is very high, use a certain symbol or something. So it's very flexible and very powerful. So now I have this here. And now let's run kernel. And you can see again, it's noticing that I have these applied, and you can see that it applied them. I didn't set up the circle, but it's picking up on everything that's a variant, and it's also adding in my badges nicely here. So the interesting part I find is connecting to an actual API. And they have one, if you're opening kernel, I think you should get this as well, is the Shopify example. And here, Spotify example, sorry. So here you have Spotify, and you can see there's a lot of data of all the albums, the ratings, the length, all the songs, and lots and lots. You can also look at the actual data. And this is connected to the real API. And what I did here is I set up this tile, and you can see again here, view configuration. And you can see that this is simply an image and so on. But the interesting part is this one down here at the rating. Because what I did now is I said, if the album popularity is greater than 50, so the album popularity, you can see here, I can just pick that up from all the data I'm given. I can also pick the duration of a song or anything. So I'm saying if the album popularity is greater than 50, then use this medium, this variant. If it's greater than 70, then use my top rating. And this here is already in there. I don't need to do anything. That's my standard. So now I can come here. Let's select this. Let's go back and let's apply all. By the way, this is not my personal music taste. This is a random selection. And now you can see that it's not only pulling in the album. There are still some downsides, like here there's a little bit with the spacing and things. So as I said, it's brand new. But you can see that you can do this logic, and you can really swap variants according to a logic that you want to use, which I think is really amazing. And there's a lot of things that you can do with this. Okay, so one last thing I want to show you. This one I posted, I think some of you there, that I posted this on Twitter the other day, that we can also connect the API, our APIs right now with our Google Sheets. And I actually wanted to show this because I thought Kernel is not working yet. Plus with Kernel, you would need to go the extra step of them at the moment connecting it. So there is some data out there that's available, like weather data, for example. And we can simply pick this live data, and then we can use this. So here I'm using this, updating it, and you can see that this is the current weather. And if it's switching in whether it's daytime or nighttime, you can see the temperature, minimum, maximum, and so on of live data. So how does that work? Okay, so here you can see I have some complicated stuff that I'm going to tell you in a minute. But before, I just want to show you my general setup before I explain you how I pulled this in. So it's very, very easy, actually. That you can see all I have here is a thumbnail for day and the thumbnail for night. And this is like the little ones here, right? These ones. And then I'm having the big ones. And I'm having one for day, and I'm having one for night, and I'm having my icons. And I'm having my icons for day and night and for the different weather. I'm having those icon sets twice, even though they're the same. Usually you would only need one. I just had some problems when it was automatically scaling. Something was distorting. So just to make sure that everything is working, I have two here. But I think it's an auto layout error I made. So you should really get away with just having one. And as I said, this might be a little quick and everything. In a minute, you're going to get this file and I have everything explained step by step. So you can go through this step by step and have a look. Okay, so all I'm basically doing is what we did before. So you can see here, this is hash city, this is hash current temperature, and so on. So I am pulling from, ignore the arrows from the top for a moment. So I am having this file here, and you can see I have the city, and then I have the temperature and everything. And this is simply data that this is where I pull in from the API, the data. So you can see this is in a separate tab. And then I have a tab called Figma, where I just take that data from the other tab and I can have it a little cleaner. And it's also going to give me the weather description. And I simply set up an icon for each of those descriptions. Now, how does it know whether it is night or day? Well, what I did is it's giving me the sunrise and it's giving me the sunset. And I have the current time where I'm now. And it's nice enough to give me to sync that already to my current time. So all I am doing is I am saying in this column, this is the important part here. So time of the day, and I'm saying, hey, if the current time is larger than the sunrise and smaller than the sunset, then it's day. If not, then it's night. And then once I have this information, I'm just reusing that everywhere. So you can see down here, in order to know which thumbnail I wanted to use, I am saying, hey, you use thumb night, just pick this up. So I'm saying you always call thumb, and then just add day or night, depending whether this one turns out day or night. And the same for the detail frame. So detail frame day or detail frame night, just to remind you what they are. So this is thumb day, thumb night, detail frame day, detail frame night. And with the icons, I'm doing the same. Remember the notation that we had before. So this is the first property, the second property. So I'm saying weather S, and I have to do it twice, as I said, because I had this little issue with the icon not scaling. So I'm having weather S equals clear. So all it does, it just picks up the description from this column. And then it just goes back here and I say, also have a look if it's day or night, and then just pick that up. And this is the same naming that I am using here for my icon. You can see weather S, thunder, weather day, night, right? And if you double click on it, you can see that this is the proper real name of this variant. And so if we're pulling this in, what you're probably going to experience, you pull this in and everything works, but the main frames are not changing. So everything, the text is here, the icons, everything that's nested is changing, but the main frames aren't changing. And this is because, remember, everything needs to be called like the column name. And this is a little bit where, as I said, this is really the thing where you have to try it out to get your head around it. So what we need to do, we need to call the main variant instance that we're using, thumbnail and detail frame. And then once we have a hash in front of it, it's going to go search the entire canvas and then swap in other components. So let's do that. So what we're doing here is I have to select all of them. Let me just see, so this is thumbnail. So I hit Command R. I can bulk rename thumbnail. And the other one is, I put that down here, detail frame. That's the column name. So I select all of them, Command R, detail frame. So now, as we're pulling in again, you can see that now it's picking up because it had the correct naming, it searched the entire document, and it found the right components. And so this is how you can build this little nice thing here. Let's just do it one more last time. This is where I have everything set up. And then obviously you can connect them with prototyping. I did this down here because I didn't know what the weather was going to be like so that we can see all of this. Let's play this. And you can have this nice little working weather app with real data. So one tiny little thing I want to show you before we go is probably that you're saying, well, how do you get this? How do you get the real weather? Well, I put, once I'm going to share this, there's a YouTube video that I used to connect. You can use a very different ways. I mean, if you ask your developers or even your project managers that deal with a little more with spreadsheets, I never work with spreadsheets. So for me, it's like, wow, a spreadsheet. They can probably also just tell you, but you can also follow this tutorial and just set it up yourself. You can also use the link to my file. And let me just show you how it works. Where are we? I set up. So what I have here is I just put in the cities that I want. And then I am using this extension called Sync With. And then I have you need an API key if you want to use the weather API. And yes, you can already see this is all the things that it automatically connects you with. So just imagine all the things you can build with Figma with this, with data. So Instagram, Twitter, Shopify, like really, really amazing stuff that you can do. And I'm using this one here, the Open Weather map. And then I go here, it says call current weather data for one location. I put in my API key, don't steal my API key, please. And then for location, I could just put in here London, for example, and then it would just give me the data for that one location. But I want more, so I am putting in here from what's the notation? Oops, A2 to A11. And you can, of course, you can like sort of update these and everything. So this is what I put in now. I say apply. I hope it worked. Maybe I did something wrong. Does it work? I'm not sure. Maybe I did something wrong now. Metric units. You can also do all of that later on. Let's preview. I think I did something wrong here. No, it should be fine. Okay, let's preview. And now you can see the real data. I think someone's asking when the panel's starting. I'm going to be here 1 minute and I'm done. So you can see this is the actual data that you're pulling. But the nice thing is it's giving you this nice little notation. So you can expand it. And then you can also delete what you don't want. And then you can simply, say insert. And then what it's going to do, it's going to create this extra page for you that I just showed you. Taking a little while. So here you can say, so this is creating this extra page, and you can also refresh it at any time. I'm going to set it to auto refresh, so it refreshes every hour. And you can also change the cities here or add cities or whatever, and then you can always get the latest data. So this is how that works. And you can, of course, use it with a lot of different APIs that are open for you out there. Okay, so that was all about what I wanted to show you for today. And what I'm going to do now is actually, so this is that file. I'm going to share that right now while I'm talking to you that you've been trying to get and didn't get. So publish on the tube. So you should be able to see this file now. Let me just jump. Where is our? Yeah, if you're clicking on that link here, so working file and challenge, then you should get to my Figma community page, and you can see that I just shared it here. So this is now way easier because you just need to duplicate this file. So you can duplicate the file from here, and I think I'm not sure. I think I'm supposed to explain you the challenge for a moment. If not, someone just, Jaren, if you want to explain the challenge, then just like stop me now. So what we have in here is once you open your file, you see the challenge. There's also a little bit of explanation here. And you can see that this is the file that we've been using that I explained to you of the weather. And at the very end, we have humidity. And I didn't do anything with humidity yet. So what I want you to do, what we want you to do, is to just add the humidity to your design. Now, you can try and pull in the data and play with it. You don't have to, because we're aware that this might have been a little fast with all the data and all the syncing. But so basically what you can just do, you can see that if here, for example, let's say this is a thing that's going to show my humidity, you can see that if I add this here, make it red so you see it. So you can see that if this was my design for my humidity, then it's in here, and I could add it and you would see it on the preview here. So the challenge is add the humidity, and you can then just take a screenshot of whatever your design is, and really it can be anything. This is just during the panel discussion. So join in, there's really, really cool prizes to win, and actually quite a few. So just add however you would change your design. You can also change this design entirely. You can break it. It's absolutely fine. Don't worry. You can always duplicate the file again if you want to have the original later on. And yeah, just add how you would add this humidity measurement to the file, take a screenshot, and then add it. You can also upload it to your Figma community site and share a link additionally if you want to. And you can also obviously try here. I gave you the link, select those and try to sync it, but you don't have to. It's enough if you just make a little design and share your screenshot. I think that's it from me.
Well, thank you so much, Christine. Wow, this is unbelievable. I'm almost losing my voice now here again. Yeah, wonderful to see. I mean, I never knew that you could actually combine the love for spreadsheets with the love for design and Figma in one magical place as we do now. This is incredible, really. Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. There are a couple of questions that came up. I'm just going to bring them up before we go into a panel. One of them is, did you ever use it for localization?
For localization, I don't quite get it. So
yeah, like for example, so whenever you want to kind of stress test the components in different languages, things like that.
Oh, yeah, no, but I think it's a very good idea because, I mean, being German, very long words. And so it responds perfectly with auto layout and all of this. So it would be a really good idea to set this up. And what I like, I like using it for long text and short text and things like that. So as it is still an open shared link, I set up sort of different content, and then I can just quickly test it and see where it starts breaking and where we need restrictions.
Well, somebody is stealing hearts from other people in FigJam. Please don't do that. Be respectful. One question that came up is, when would we actually use Kernel in production? For what type of projects do you think it would be useful to be very specific with data in real time or in real life?
I mean, I think it's relevant to everything because we always design, and then we have these beautiful 3 lines and these beautiful unsplashed images, and then the stuff gets built, and you always in the end you're connecting to a database, and then the images comes in. So sometimes it's just a question. Also, for me, it's mainly also images. You have images, you might have a completely different sizes set up that don't fit, so you might just have to adapt your design. Or you might actually need to say, hey, the design is wonderful, the program is wonderful, but are you aware that we don't have proper images and the right resolutions and everything? So I think it is a really big part of design that's been very not looked after as much. And I think it's the moment where a lot of projects, you see them in the browser and you're a bit like, oh, didn't expect it like this.
Right. There is also one, not concern, but a question that also came up here. How do you strike that right balance of over-engineering, spending excess time on the prototype, versus communicating just enough so that developers can actually go ahead and just build it?
Yeah, I mean, developers, they don't care, what I put in there. You can disagree with me, but
let's not start this conversation.
No, but the thing is, for me, it is like, I mean, I have a lot of that I do in the courses and everything that I do, a lot of testing the components beforehand, and there's a lot of pages that I have that the developers will never see. So for me, it is just getting all that clutter out of the way. And then I can have a proper conversation with the development team because this time it's rare. So I really just want to discuss with them what I've already tested. So I know where there might be problems, where there might be issues. I can already do all of that. I wouldn't sit with a developer and look at things like, look how nice the data comes in. It's not going to even be impressive for them. So for me, this is like a little sort of side playground. And then obviously the things like the weather API and things that's just like sort of playing around because I like doing that. But the real use, I think, is testing components and testing real real content, because your design might look really awful with real content, and you might have to groom your content a little bit as well.
Yeah, yeah, I'm all for it. Well, I do not like logarithm that much indeed, or any random data for that matter. Maybe just two more quick questions. One of them is, does this actually work with SharePoint spreadsheets? I would like to let my colleagues write copy while proceeding with the designs.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the part that's also a really important part that you say, the copywriters, that they can do their whole thing. I don't know. I mean, you have to have a look at the Figma plugin. There's other plugins. There is plugins for Airtable. There's plugins for Notion, but I don't know what else there is. So you have a look at the community if there is a plugin already, and if not, I would say also with Kernel, have a look, talk to them. They're super nice. I literally called them up and say, I like this, I want to do this, and they're a small team. They're just starting with it, and I think it's very impressive what they're doing, and I'm sure they're up for looking at things and helping you to connect your files.
Also, another question related to kernel is, can you sync back the kernel changes made in Figma?
Good point. I don't know. I actually don't know. I have to ask
Okay,
them.
so that's maybe also another thing that
I'm sending send emails to Kernel. They're gonna be
they'll be like, what is going on? The smashing people, they're just coming all the way. And the final one.
But there is a thing. I didn't try it. There is like sort of a bit like a Figma, like your normal library you have. There is a thing. I didn't try that. There is something, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Finally, with life-changing data, can you ask the plugins to auto-sync, or do they only update manually?
So Google Sheet only updates manually. And Kernel, I also don't know. I think there is a lot happening, but so far I think you have to update manually.
Okay.
But you can do the whole file. You just have to press one button, and then your whole document is updated. Oh, one thing that's important with this one, it has to be with the Google Sync. It has to be on your same page for it to be found. So that's a bit of a downside.
Okay, excellent. I think we have covered so far everything that we have coming in the chat.